Hey guys, Razor Blade Mango here. So, I guess this is just a video that I have to do because a tweet is not going to, or a couple of tweets is not going to accurately describe my reaction to this news. So, if you guys aren't aware by now, it has finally come to pass that EA owns Respawn Entertainment, who are the guys behind Titanfall, which, and Titanfall 2, which, like, if you've been on this channel for the last year, you guys know how much I love Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 is a game that came out of nowhere and rocked my gaming world. It is one of my all-time favorite games. It has the best first-person shooter campaign I've ever played. And its multiplayer represents everything that I want to see that is pro-consumer in the gaming industry. No microtransactions, no bullshit loot boxes, none of that. And free DLC, no season pass, no content carving, no none of that. It's had really strong support over the last year, and even though it's winding down now, it's been a hell of a ride. I must admit, I very rarely ever keep up with games, especially games that are multiplayer focused. There's very few that I ever really keep up with and consistently play. And Titanfall 2 was one of the very rare cases where I would keep playing it no matter what updates came out. There are games that I like that I'm willing to give, months breaks to, like Overwatch. I haven't touched Overwatch since I got Super Mario Odyssey a couple weeks ago. I haven't touched Destiny 2 extensively in like a month. It's just been sitting on my PS4 hard drive. But Titanfall 2 holds a special place in my heart. And a lot of that had to do with Respawn regarding their business model, regarding pretty much, I believe, personally, being independent from EA. Because EA, while Respawn may be under the umbrella of EA, as far as publishing goes, they were not owned by EA. They were independent. And that is a relationship that I had honestly hoped would stay that way. But, as life is, sometimes the good things do eventually run out. And as of today, Respawn Entertainment is finally owned by EA. And usually I would read the PR press release stuff from both camps, because both I always fuck up the guy's name, Vince Zampella from Respawn posted a letter, so to speak, on Respawn.com, and EA did one as well. And I'm not going to read either of them because they both basically say the same jargon where it's, hey, we're really excited about merging and we're really excited about, getting all this, yada, yada, yada. So it's, they both say the same thing. There's really no point. What I want to focus on with this video is at least my thoughts on this whole situation, because I'm going to be perfectly honest here. When I found out about this news, I wasn't shocked. I wasn't even remotely surprised. But I was disappointed because, for one thing, I'm not going to lie. I don't want to lie, so I will say I am a little bit disappointed in Respawn. A little bit, because Respawn Entertainment was formed from the shadow of Activision. It was it was formed because Zampella and like one other guy didn't want to do these like Call of Duty things anymore. They wanted to do their own thing with Infinity Ward, and Activision wasn't gonna let them, and they just were like, all right, fine, fuck it. Activision, I guess, just fired them for insubordination, from what I've heard, and then they left and went and formed Respawn, which teamed up with EA. They still owned the rights to Titanfall, even when they released Titanfall 2. And I guess I'm just a little like, I had a little bit of faith that maybe they would never be bought by EA because Respawn got out of Activision. Respawn is the product of wanting to be independent. They didn't want to be under a publisher. So to see them leave Activision, form their own thing, and create a new franchise that, for me at least, with the second game, has a ton of quality and potential for it being a fucking gangbusters franchise. To now see them be completely absorbed into the EA Worldwide Studios thing, it's disappointing, because I had hoped Zampella and some of the other people involved would be smarter than this. It just kind of makes me wonder why they even bothered to get away from Activision in the first place. And that might not be entirely fair. For one thing, they might have more creative control now than they did back then. Maybe EA is giving them a little bit more, less of a tug on the leash. But the fact that they no longer own Titanfall and are now have to directly respond to whatever EA wants, that worries me a lot. I'm not going to go so far as to say, oh, the company is dead to me or anything like that, because I'm already seeing, ridiculous things like that said, but it is very, very worrying, particularly after, very recently with Visceral being shut down and their cool Star Wars looking game canceled, and now they're working on their own Star Wars. Respawn is doing their own Star Wars game, which, has the potential to be really cool, even with that being having more of an influence from EA. But Titanfall 3, which they kind of sort of announced that they're working on, but oh man, that's concerning, because like I said, Titanfall 2 represents everything that I think is very positive, pro-consumer about, multiplayer focused games. And that came from EA, one of the biggest cocks, one of the biggest fucking assholes in the video game industry, which like I said on my spoiler cast for it, you can watch it, that's a fucking miracle. It's a fucking miracle that game exists in the first place. Just coming out of the environment that it did. It's just, I cannot believe EA didn't fuck that up somehow. I can't believe it. They might have tried, but they had independence. They did. Now they don't. So what is going to happen in the future? Well, I think the most obvious thing that's going to happen is that Titanfall 3 is going to be tinkered with and fucked with, and it's going to have so much it's going to be plague ridden with all these loot boxes and microtransactions and all that shit. Now that EA have a direct say in the Titanfall IP, they own it. Respawn does not own it anymore. Respawn can't say, fuck you, I'm not going to do this. They can't. EA owns them now. They're in charge of the pocketbooks now. This isn't simply a matter of getting outside funding and striking some kind of deal. No. They will directly have a say in what Titanfall's future is. That is scary, because Titanfall, to me, after 2, Titanfall 3 at least, like I was so excited for the future of Titanfall. But I always knew in the back of my mind that there would always be this possibility that EA could buy them out, that EA could finally take direct control of Titanfall. Because EA is a vindictive, greedy, shitty corporation, and I bet it tore them up inside not to own a franchise that is under their umbrella. Seeing Respawn be independent, that must have just eaten them up inside. It's like a direct fuck you to EA, and I loved it. Well, that fuck you is strictly being turned right back around to Respawn. No, fuck you. You want to play that game? We'll sabotage your second game. And let's go into that, which I'm going to get a little conspiracy theorist kind of thing, but knowing EA's behavior, this actually does not seem very far out of left field. This seems pretty. It makes sense. It explains a lot in my head. It kind of the puzzle just kind of clicks together when I bring this thought into it. Now, because of this acquisition, them buying them out, making them part of the EA worldwide thing, and the usual contract with bonuses tied to Metacritic scores and all that horseshit nonsense. Because they paid around $400 million for Respawn, and that price could go up given that they meet certain Metacritic scores, which is a load of shit. I honestly believe, if I'm going to be that cynical and that conspiracy theoristy, I believe in my heart of hearts that EA intentionally sabotaged the release of Titanfall 2 just so they would lose money. So that it would make them easier. It would make them more willing to be bought by EA. It's a theory, of course. It hasn't been proven by anything, but I honestly want to believe. I kind of sort of believe that. And yes, another company did want to buy Respawn. That's the thing I do have to, point out, is that South Korean publisher Nexon, who publishes the Titanfall 2 mobile game that I've yet to play and I have no desire to play it, they wanted to buy Respawn. And I guess legally, EA had about a month to match the offer, which obviously they did. So that's, they're owned by EA now. Rather than Nexon, that's the problem with being independent. I don't know if Respawn wanted to be bought by Nexon, or if that was just going to be a forced acquisition or something. I don't know. And this legal shit is not my area of expertise. You'd have to go to a more educated person to know the ins and outs of this kind of stuff. But in a sense, yes, I do see it as, pretty cut and simple and dry. Is that another company was going to take away Respawn and have them fall under their umbrella. And EA saw that, and EA's already contracted them to do a Star Wars game, which Nexon does not have the rights to Star Wars. That belongs exclusively to EA. So, yes, you can make the argument that EA kind of was forced to buy them in a sense. If I'm to give any small amount of understanding to EA, I guess I can see that. But all this timing just doesn't. It makes a lot of sense, them buying Respawn, at least how it fits in the timeline. With Visceral being closed, with their Star Wars game being canceled, they're like, fuck it, now we have direct control over another one. And we have direct control over that studio too. So, I don't know. Just this whole thing about them, I've gone over it in my head for a year now. Why would EA put Titanfall 2 between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty? Just why? it's easy to believe that they're just that fucking stupid. But it's also much more logical that EA knew what they were doing to intentionally make the game fail. So it might be easier to purchase Respawn, maybe at a cheaper price, because Vince Zampella just is like, hurting for money right now and really needs that money. They need it. They gotta eat. That's the shitty thing, is that, with a team that big, they all gotta eat. So yeah, I guess I can see Vince Zampella being like, fuck, I'm caught in a rock and a hard place, so I have to give in to EA. And yeah, it's a situation where you're selling your soul to the devil, but I don't know. The nice fairy tale is that they could just leave from EA. They could just try to go with another company with Titanfall, but a part of me, the more like reasonable part of me, thinks that just that would not be possible given this time, given the fact that Titanfall 2, did not make the sales. I don't even think the first one really got as much traction as they think it did. Yeah, it made quite a bit of money, but compared to what they wanted it to be, not even close. Not even close. And that game is like a ghost town at this point, with Titanfall 2 have been out for like a year now. So what is the future with Respawn and EA? The easy thing, the probably the most, I say easy, but that is probably what's going to happen within, I give them like 7 years, 6-7 years, because people are freaking out that EA is just going to immediately sabotage Respawn. And while that could be a possibility, that's not how EA operates. If you look at their past history, let's take Bioware for example. Actually, let's look at both Bioware and Visceral. EA likes to do slow killings. It doesn't like to just take a machete and like hack them to death immediately. It likes to tie them up and drain them of their blood as slow and as painfully as possible. And you will start to see it with Titanfall. We will start to see it with that Star Wars game that they're doing now. You will see the slow creep of EA-isms into there. Put in an always online thing. Or, make this, part of the microtransactions. Change the currency in this. Let's look at BioWare. BioWare was purchased by EA around, I think, like 2010, 2011, I think. And that was at the time when Mass Effect... You remember when Mass Effect was just an Xbox exclusive? Do you guys remember that? As I do. I remember. That's how I first found out about Xbox through... I first found out about BioWare and... No. What the fuck? When I first found out about Mass Effect, I found it out from... like Xbox Gaming Magazine, where they talked about, this is the future for BioWare. This is excellent. And it's like, ever since they got bought by EA, it's like I think they got purchased by EA after this, because that's when Mass Effect 2 started coming on to like PS3, and then they did a port of the original Mass Effect for PS3 and all that. And then Mass Effect 3 came out. So let's look at the timeline of like what happened. So you have the original 2 Mass Effects. They had their DLC and everything, but it wasn't super egregious. Then we get to Mass Effect 3 with the whole ending thing, which the ending is still terrible, it's still shit. And they also had multiplayer, which was rife with microtransactions at the time. And then they went on to do Dragon Age Inquisition, which had problems adapting to the Frostbite engine, which EA is just going to make every company they own now use the Frostbite engine, even if it causes problems for the developers. Look at Mass Effect Andromeda. Look at Dragon Age Inquisition. Just like EA just like, oh, Frostbite, that sounds good. You have to use Frostbite. You have to. Even if you have to remake all the assets, you have to use it. Dragon Age Inquisition also started microtransactions, I believe. Yeah, the multiplayer thing, it had microtransactions in it. So, You see like the slow creep in there of EA stuff, and then Mass Effect Andromeda. Well, we all know the story of Mass Effect Andromeda. You know, lots of problems. Problems with the engine, problems with ambition, problems with EA's push for other things. Like, that game is just nasty, filled with microtransactions, shitty multiplayer mode. That's what's going to be supported. Fuck the single player. No. The microtransaction machine. That's what we want to support. And now they're doing Anthem, which is such a non-Bioware looking game that, I was talking about it with a friend and subscriber today even. I was like, yeah, he was talking about how Anthem looks good, and I want to believe what I've seen from that trailer, but I know EA well enough to think that I am not going to trust anything that comes out of that game as far as previews go. Because look at all the previews for Mass Effect Andromeda. Looked great. Great facial animation. Good gameplay, all that. And then it came out, it was a fucking bomb. Critical and commercial bomb. Just failed horribly. Lots of problems, lots of bugs, lots of glitches. So EA pushing Anthem as this like next big thing, I don't buy it. I don't believe it. And don't think for a second that Anthem is not going to be riddled with microtransactions. It's going to be fucking lousy with them. Same thing like what they pushed with Dead Space 3. Same thing what they pushed with the Battlefield games, with Battlefront 2. All their shit. Probably Titanfall 3 is going to have them too now. So I just think Anthem has just this big disappointment written all over it. And I think EA is just going to fuck with it. And just they're turning BioWare into something that is completely not like BioWare. Whether or not they can bounce back from that, I don't know. For all I know, Anthem could be like their next huge thing, and I could be wrong, but just the signals are all there of BioWare going down the route of Visceral, Bullfrog, Maxis, all those companies that EA just killed. What is that, like 2 companies that EA has killed this year? Visceral and BioWare Montreal? Yeah. Gone. Dead. And Respawn, I don't think Respawn is next. I think it's BioWare that's next. I really do. But going back to Respawn. Let's talk about Respawn. You know, and I've rambled long enough about this, but the bottom line is that I don't think it's the death of Respawn yet. It's going to be a slow murder. You're going to see things, even Titanfall 3 might not have all the bullshit that I predict it will. It might not. It might really, be excellent. Same with their Star Wars game. I think their Star Wars game has a lesser chance of, getting the EA stink off of their games, but I think Titanfall 3 might still be, great and everything. But 6-7 years from now, when EA has crept in and sucked all the life out of Respawn, nah, I give them 6-7 years. And if they're still around in 6-7 years, then they will just be a complete shell of their former selves. They'll just be They'll be helping out with Star Wars constantly. They'll be cranking out Battlefield sequels or prequels or spin-offs or whatever. Just whatever EA wants to compete with Activision again. And the saddest thing out of this whole situation is that when Titanfall 3, officially, with a trailer and we know details and all that, when Titanfall 3 is officially announced, my first thought is not going to be, holy crap, another Titanfall sequel. Finally. Yes. Awesome. It's not going to be that. It's going to be, how is EA going to fuck this up? Because EA owns the rights to it now. They have a direct say in the future of Titanfall. The future of Respawn. And no matter what kind of positive thinking press releases are written up by, Vince Zampella and all these other guys at EA and whatever, that is not going to change. That's not going to change my opinion that this is a bad thing in the long run. It's really bad. And who knows? They could be one of the studios that, stays like DICE. DICE isn't going anywhere. DICE is too popular. But Respawn? I don't know. We'll see. And I say this out of love because, I love Titanfall 2. My respect for Respawn shot up over the last year, and to now see that this has come to pass sucks. It really sucks because, as one of my other friends said, they're basically effectively they're done at this point. And I believe that in the long run. I don't believe that in the short term because I think they will, they'll pull through and they'll release their Star Wars game. They'll release Titanfall 3 and whatever, and they might be great. But in the long run, once EA is done fucking with their shit, no. We're in for some tough times ahead with Respawn. So, as always, I hope for the best, but knowing EA's very recent history, not even a month, very recent, with meddling and tinkering and eventually killing. So, we'll see. We'll see how EA's plans for this whole game thing, and I swear to God, if fucking Titanfall 3 is a game as a service where they just take out the single player and it's all about the multiplayer again, it's another fucking online only thing, I swear to God, if they make Titanfall 3 like Destiny, I swear to God, I swear. And when EA finally shuts down Respawn in the years to come, if this channel is still around, you can expect one of the angriest fucking rants I'll ever do, because they have a great studio in their hands. But as history has shown, EA's had multiple great studios in their hands, and they've just thrown them away like a toy when they see another better toy held by a different baby. They always look at Activision and they see what toy they're enjoying and playing with, and then they look down at their toys and they go, fuck, no, I don't want it anymore. I want that toy. That's EA. It's a jealous baby. And there's one thing I want to say to EA right now. It's, you got a really fucking great toy in your hands, guys, with Respawn. Use them well. Love them. Cherish them. Because if you do, you nurture them correctly, they'll bring you great happiness and financial success in the future. But that's the problem. Financial success is not enough. They want all of the money. They want to chase after all the trends that are getting all the money. And I better stop now before I go into another rant about microtransactions after some fucked up shit that I've heard today. Just now that microtransactions are eclipsing digital revenue sales from actual games. Oh God. And Take-Two probably gonna fuck up Red Dead Redemption 2 with microtransactions and loot boxes and gambling and just God. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Respawn. Let me know what you guys think. Sorry for the relatively lengthy video. This is a long one, but I just I needed to get this off my chest because this is just in a very calm and measured way, and I really hope Respawn does well under the umbrella of EA. Them actually being part of the umbrella now. Just, we'll see. All right. Have a good one, everyone. Take care.